Have you also been into such situation where you are talking to a group of people that may be your friends, your work colleagues somewhere, and you have been into conversation for a long time with them now, and there comes a point where you're like, now what should I talk next? There is that awkward gap, that awkward silence between you guys, and you're thinking, oh, what should I begin now? What conversation should I initiate? And that person in front of you, they're also looking for some third person to talk to because they have nothing else to share with you, and neither you are able to begin the conversation, right? And these awkward silences, like, they are I have like faced these things, I have been into such situations many times, but not anymore, because these 5 tips that I'm going to share in this video, what I have personally used as well, helps my conversations to just keep going now with the flow, and that awkward silences, that awkward gaps in conversations are nowhere now. So the fourth tip is personally my favorite that I have been using often, and the fifth one is also kind of, I love that thing as well. So don't miss those 2 tips especially, and let's begin with the first tip for this video. So the number one tip is to play that reminds me of. What do I mean by this? Let me explain through an example. So suppose like you are with a group of people in like your office, you had a meeting or something and all that has now finished, and now you're just sitting with your colleagues and you're like, oh, what should I talk now? So for example, there is a poster or a painting in that room that says like teamwork makes the dream work, some sort of thing that is written on it, right? So you can say to your colleague, like, that poster that reminds me of the workshop we had attended last year, on the teamwork, and we learned various techniques how we can effectively work as a team and all that stuff, right? So this is how you just begin the things, and then you can further discuss about the workshop, like how you enjoyed that. You can ask that person, what did you learn out of it, like some sort of thing. So that particular thing, you can say, that reminds me of something, so that could be poster. For example, secondly, like we can consider that person is wearing a watch or something, or any such accessory that reminds you of something. So you can say, the watch you're wearing, that reminds me of the gift I had given to my friend or my brother on his last birthday. So that reminds me of. So pick like a particular such thing or anything that could be, and just begin the conversation around that. So when like you say about this watch that I had gifted him on the last birthday, you can further ask that person, when is your birthday coming, or something like that, right? Like we can go out or like we can go out for party or on your birthday or something like that. So that is how you can begin the conversation, from the things like that reminds me of. So that thing could be anything. That could be like obviously any particular person that is wearing something, that could be from the environment. Like you just need to be aware of the things, like what you can begin the things or your conversation on, right? So I hope this point is very clear and pretty easy as well to use. You just need to be a bit aware of like what thing I can use to play this thing like that reminds me of. I hope you found this one helpful, and let's move to the second tip for this video. So the second tip for this video is to use revival questions. So what do I mean by this now? For example, like you are with your again work colleagues somewhere, or with your friends or anywhere. So you are meeting them for first time, some of them are like your old friends, and you're like, what should I begin here, what conversation should I initiate? Like all of them get involved. Like you're not talking to a particular one person or two person, you want all of them to be involved in that conversation. So you can ask the revival questions. So what are revival questions? That is very simple. For example, you can ask them like, how did you guys come to this role, or how did you got to know about this company, how did you approach here for the interview, or anything like sort of that things. So this way, when you ask about such stories, so they are going to share the different ways, their career paths or whatever, right? So this is how they are going to share their own stories. So every person has their individual and interesting stories to share, right? So and that is how everyone can get involved in that conversation, because everyone is obviously curious to know the other person's story, like how did you come here, and they will be also like curious to share their own journey and the things ahead. So these are sort of revival questions that you can ask to anyone to share their own experiences, their own stories or something. So this is pretty easy to begin a conversation, I guess.